Good morning, everyone. It's Steve. Let's do a live stream. I've got a little bit of time on this Tuesday morning, and I was just in the mood to do a live stream. I don't know, maybe I'm drinking. I had my breakfast. I'm hydrating, and I'm just in the mood. I'm just in the mood to talk and maybe answer questions. You can ask questions in the chat section. You can ask questions in the comment section. All right? I got my trusty Better Call Saul t-shirt on today. I love this shirt so much. This show was so great. I could just talk about Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad and other shows I've enjoyed. So let's do a live stream. Okay. I only had one client this morning, and I'm actually free for the rest of the day. I'm free until Wednesday evening. All right. Ain't that cool? All right. But then I do work Thursday, Friday, and I offer Saturday morning sessions and Sunday evening sessions. So this is almost like a little bit of a weekend for me. So anyway, let's just talk. By the way, I have to say one thing. I just personal. I had a friend say she loved my business card, the little tree with the handprints. I forgot which. And then on the back, the problem you can't talk about is two problems. All right. Wandering Elk Wellness. All right. I've been in private practice for 8 years. It's a long story, but I just made business cards recently because my referral sources are usually these companies like Sondermind and Rula, and I see all my clients by video, all that. But only recently have I started to hit the pavement with my own marketing because I'm tired of these companies. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, my friend, she really loved the tree, and I love it too. And I even put on the here. I put on the self-worth, anxiety, healing for. I want some of my top issues that I care deeply about right on the business card. All right. And then don't you know it? The problem you can't talk about is two problems. Surely you know that by now. Or if not, let's talk about that. But the problem you can't talk about is two problems. All right. It is. And here's the thing. Here's what we do. Not only do we not talk about the problem, but we convince ourselves sort of consciously or subconsciously that we're doing fine when we're really not. And it's like, I'm fine. I'm doing okay. You know, if I don't think about the problem, it won't bother me. And if I don't even think about it, it will disappear. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist if I don't think about it. You know what I mean? I'm fine. Just ignore it. That sounds great until the moment where, we explode or there's some minor little trigger and all of a sudden we erupt like a volcano with whatever feelings. I remember being a teenager in my early 20s. That's exactly what I would do. My ability to feel feelings, or I just didn't have any skills about feeling feelings and actually putting words to feelings, and actually just saying something like, I'm not doing too well these days. I got a lot on my mind. I'm stressed. I'm upset. I'm kind of sad a lot. And I'm not even sure why. I didn't even know how to use those words, And then I would just explode, or it would come out in my behavior or some anger outburst. And then everybody thinks I'm whatever they think. But and that's actually how I got into therapy and eventually how I became a therapist. But anyway, just getting to the point though. Do not act like everything's fine when it's not. That's not going to be to your long-term advantage. So just a little thought there. Hold on, I got a text. Oh, it's a little spam. Don't you love these spam texts? Heidi, are you available? or hello, are you available? And it's like, they have these like clever ways of like sending a text. And they're like, hey, are we hanging out Friday? Where it kind of baits you into responding. Anyway, therapy talk. All right, let me just get focused. I want to just go at least to the top of the hour and talk through some things. And it looks like there's 2 people watching. Welcome. I'm just an ordinary therapist talking about therapy. I guess I'm promoting my practice or whatever, but I'm also just wanting to give and make friends and connections. All right. So if you got a question or comment, and I did put in the title heading, I put anxiety. I put surviving versus thriving, which is always a great topic. And then 3, what is therapy? Let's talk about surviving versus thriving. That's a really big one. Where do I even start? let me sip some water. All I know is this. I had a client, I would never mention names or identifying information, but there was just one client a few months ago where it just became clear that they had been surviving for most of their lives. It was survival mode, rough childhood, bad thing after bad thing after traumatic experience after traumatic experience. And now they're an adult and in a lot of ways doing pretty well, doing really well. I was really proud of her, and I just had to say, you've done a lot of hard work to get where you're at. And I'm impressed. And yeah, there's still more stuff to work on. There's always more stuff to work on. But do you see how far you've come? You were down here. Now you're up here. Man, and look at you. You got a great relationship, got a good job, this and that. And yes, you got a long way to go. But I was like, maybe your days of surviving are over. And now it's a new era for you to thrive. For you to thrive. I got into this little thing. Maybe it's time for you to thrive and to just kick ass and to do more amazing things and to make a difference now. To make a difference in other people's lives, that kind of stuff. Surviving versus thriving. It's all, let me just throw this out. It looks like I got one person watching. It's like for the person where they just feel like I'm just trying to survive. Totally understandable. Like I've been there. I might still be there right now in a lot of ways where it just feels like, man, I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to get through the day reasonably okay. But it's like, are you open to maybe thriving? Are you open to the possibility that you could thrive? We at least have to be open to the possibility that maybe a new era, if we just have a closed attitude of like, no, I'm just surviving. That's all there is. There's nothing, nothing better. Then it's like, in a sense, you're right for yourself. You know what I mean? If you're convinced that surviving is all there is, then that's all there is for you. That's your truth. But at least as me as a therapist, it's like I always want to push and poke towards maybe you can thrive. The Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's 5. That's kind of a cool thing, but that's something I think about. So sometimes our trauma keeps us thinking, just trying to get through the day. I'm just surviving. Just hanging in there. A day without a panic attack, a day without suicidal thoughts. Whatever that thing is, that a person is dealing with on a mental health level, totally understand. You got my full compassion and empathy. And I hope you have a therapist, of course. Hope you have a therapist. If you don't, go find one. Go get one. All right? So, but I always have that grand vision of like, maybe thriving needs to be in your future. That's all. Real simple theme here. Nothing too, I always have this attitude of like, when I'm working with my clients and, talking about some difficult thing, I've known them for a while. My attitude is I want my recommendations to be simple. Like, I always want to first start off with like simple advice before I get to complicated advice, because usually things are, honestly, a lot of times we complicate like what good health and wellness looks like, when sometimes it's really simple, which is connect with somebody, like stay out of isolation. Do not isolate when you're struggling, right? Talk to somebody, go meet with some friends, call somebody. I mean, that's just one principle I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Or it's like, don't quit. Just don't quit. Real simple. I'm always, with some of my clients, it looks like there's only there's two people watching, but some of my clients, I warn them over and over again. I'm like, don't quit. Don't quit. Here are all you've been working with me for 4 weeks. Here are all the ways that your brain can rationalize or play tricks on you and say, this is no good. I'm going to quit. And it's like, don't quit. The clients who get the most out of therapy are usually the ones who don't quit and they keep pushing through. And they almost like, that's like the theme of like going to college, is just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Just keep trying to do the homework. Keep taking try to study. But when in doubt, just keep showing up. Eventually, they're going to graduate you. Therapy is I view therapy the same way. Now, of course, you have to have rapport with your therapist, and it has to feel like you're getting something out of the sessions. That's an obvious thing. But outside of that, I'm always like, just keep showing up. And sometimes it's like, make a habit. I have a set schedule for each week. So it's like, you want to talk to me on Thursday morning at 8 a.m., make a commitment. I'm going to talk to you every Thursday at 8 a.m. and make it a standing appointment. And so once a week, it's like clockwork. Oh, it's Thursday. I'm talking to Steve. I'm talking to my therapist. I see my therapist every 2 weeks, usually every 2 weeks. And that, for me, that's my pace. And it gives me ample time, 13, 14 days to kind of work on some things and maybe, take a risk, leave my comfort zone. So at least I have more to talk about, as opposed to sometimes every week can be, it just depends on the person. But anyway, part of that don't quit is just get committed to a day and time every week where I'm going to talk to my therapist. Don't quit. It's unbelievable. Some of my clients have breakthroughs like 6 months, 12, 18 months into therapy. They have like a huge breakthrough. So anyway, just throwing out the don't quit thing. So sometimes the simple advice is what we need to meditate on. Here's another one. All right, what did I say? Don't quit. There was another one. Don't isolate. Don't isolate your, connect with people. Don't quit. Maybe another one would be like, go easy on yourself. Just meditate on that. Go easy on yourself. Go easy on yourself. Practice. Try, like be open. Well, practicing going easy on yourself is thinking about going easy on yourself or considering going easy on yourself. Having moments where you're at least thinking about, now, if I did go easy on myself, what would I do? if I was going easy on somebody else, what would I do for them? At least thinking about it. All right. You know, by the way, I guess the term is self-compassion. I say go easy on yourself because I'm just a simple man. My vocabulary is not very good, but really though, the whole issue of like go easy on yourself. Every once in a while, you catch yourself. Try to be a little easier. Write them down in a journal. Record any time that you recognize that you've gone easy on yourself. I want you working so hard on yourself that you're constantly looking inside and being like, oh, what am I thinking? What's my mood like? And why? You're going through the day, a very small thing. You find yourself giving yourself self-compassion. You're like, oh, wow, you know what? I actually did do that. That's a little bit of a step in the right direction. Jot it down and talk to your therapist about it. You know what I mean? I want you and that's like the spirit of journaling. All right. I do journaling like once a week. I do a voice memo on my phone. I've got like 7 or 8 years worth of voice memos, either on my phone or my iCloud. It's crazy. If anybody ever stole my phone, they'd have a lot of boring voice memos of me pouting about all sorts of things. But it's unbelievable. I just do little 10 to 15 minute. I turn it on. I'm like, hey, this is today's date. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting on my couch. These are the things that are going on. This is bothering me. I've been a little bit in a bad mood, and I think it's because of this. And this thing is going on, blah, blah, blah. Totally helps. So anyway, I'm kind of talking in circles and all over the place, but I always want my clients practicing self-compassion. Are you open to being self-compassionate? And here's the other thing too. Victims of like trauma and abuse, the negative self-talk can be really almost ingrained, and it takes hard work to kind of identify those automatic negative thoughts. Sometimes they're called ants, A-N-T, ants, automatic negative thinking. So you identify the negative thoughts. And it's very common for like harsh thinking towards yourself to be like sort of this constant that works, to the negative of a person's wellness. So anyway, that's a roundabout way of saying it's really common if you're a victim of trauma and abuse. It's bad enough you went through all that hard stuff and then you're being hard on yourself about it. And it's like a double whammy, So anyway, that's sort of at least the challenge of personal growth and kind of like what to work on in therapy and all that kind of stuff, So, all right. Better Call. When in doubt, just call Better Call Saul. All right. He's a lawyer you can trust. There you go. I got to keep it a little light. Hello to all 2 people watching. Please comment. You're welcome to even just say like what your location is or whatever, I'm really like, I am okay with like asking questions about like, how do you find a good therapist? I got to make a video about that or whatever topics you have or whatever, as long as it's appropriate and nobody's trolling me, I'll answer your question. Okay. And, I do have really good boundaries. So there you go. Here's one question. Speaking of boundaries, there's so many principles about boundaries. It's like, instead of talking about why the person is doing the behavior to you, the question is, why are you allowing it? You know what I mean? Why are you allowing? Sometimes actually, let me go through them. Number 1, you will always feel like the bad guy. when you set boundaries. You'll always feel a little guilty. You always feel like, oh man, why are you rocking the boat? This person might be mad at you. Do it anyway. It just goes with the territory of setting boundaries. All right? You have to, like, you always feel like the bad guy. All right? So it's a little bit of a muscle of like saying, hey, I don't care what people think, or it doesn't matter. Set the boundary anyway. All right, number 2 is, wait, what's number 2? I got to think a second. I'm kind of an airhead. Oh, it's not really a boundary unless you're willing to enforce it, and you do enforce it. Otherwise, it's not a boundary. It's just a wish and a hope. Like, oh, I hope this person acts a certain way around me. I hope, I would wish that this person won't do this, or, you know what I mean? No, a boundary is when you're willing to enforce it, and you do enforce it. Okay. 3. What's my third one? This one. You kind of know. I mean, it's just a general principle. You kind of know where, like, how much somebody respects you or loves you based on whether they respect your boundaries. If you have a friend or just somebody where they really love you, all right, they really want to be, like, they want to be with you. Okay, and maybe you have a boundary and they don't understand it. If they really care about you, they'll follow the boundary and be like, okay, maybe I don't understand this, but because I have good feelings about this person, I'm just going to respect the boundary. And it's the ones where they're like either abusive, or they're like, oh, they're offended. They're offended that you have that's a red flag. That's something to think about. Who respects your boundaries? Who doesn't respect your boundaries? And another one is like, why are you talking about why this person's doing it, when it's more about why are you allowing it? Why are you allowing that behavior? Occasionally I get a client where they're not very strong in the boundaries, and they're spending all this time about, this person's really bad. They do this to me. They've done that to me. They've done this to me. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, they had a bad, childhood, blah, 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 all this stuff. And it's like, okay, I don't really care that much about why they're doing it to you. I do care a little bit about what they're doing to you. What I really want to ask is, why are you allowing it? Why are you allowing it? Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. When in doubt, if you want to work on boundaries, just meditate on the word no. N-O. No. Or all different variations of no. Literally no, but then also like, no, I can't do that. Nope, that's not going to work. Oh, I got to talk to my wife about that. I can't say yes. Anything to get you to not say yes and be this people pleaser that's always like, oh, sure. When you really want to say no. And then, by the way, another boundary. All right, so saying no, we can get it. That's a whole nother, could do an hour video talking about different ways to say no. Actually, I saw a book in the bookstore that was like 99 ways to say no and keep your boundaries. Something like that. 99 ways to say no. Go look it up. Go look it up. I saw it. I think I took a picture of it. Anyway, but what was I going to say? No. There was another thing. People pleasing. I had one more brilliant idea related to boundaries. Got to make sure you say no. I have policies as a professional. I mean, I'll almost fill you in on a secret, but like sometimes if people ask me something, my answer is immediately no. No matter what it is. I'm like, no, I can't do that. And then I might like think about it and change my mind. But you can always go from no to a yes. But if you say yes, and then you want to go back to saying no, then you got that problem of like, why did you say yes? Anyway, darn, I had one other thought and I forgot it. I guess it wasn't that important. Set your boundaries. I can really help. By the way, I will toot my own horn on this. I'm really good with boundaries. Maybe even too good at boundaries. I don't know. It's a long story, but I can help you with boundaries. You really struggle with saying no. You're always people pleasing. You're always afraid of what people. Somebody asks you for a favor, and you're always saying yes, and then you end up resentful, or boundaries related to relationships, all sorts of issues where it's like, you know, you need to set boundaries, and you know it. I've got some ideas, some exercises. Oh, here's another way to think about it. Anytime you're saying yes to somebody, okay, or like you're allowing something, all right, it's like they're crossing your boundary and you're not going to enforce the boundary. And in essence, you're saying yes to what they're doing. And when you say yes to what someone's doing, you're also saying no to something else. And that no could just be peace of mind, having a restful evening. You're saying no to those things. So it's just another way to think about it. When you're always saying yes, you're always giving in, you're saying no to something else. I get fired up about that one. All right. I'm just saying. I had 3 people watching. Somebody was clicking hearts. I really appreciate it. I'm just this schlub on YouTube. I'm having fun. I'm having fun with these live streams, the shorts. It's been really fun. Speaking of like overthinkers in the house, I'm an overthinker. I did a short and I called it Nothing Changes If Nothing Changes. All right. And I just rambled a little bit about here it is. Let's see. Well, anyway, I just said nothing changes if nothing changes. And I talked and then I was like, oh no, this one, I could see how somebody could be offended. I could see how someone's going to rip into me in the comment section. All this stuff, I was like, this is a bad short. No one's going to like it. It's going to get all these downvotes, all this stuff. And I was like, just Steve, it's okay if you're bad. It's okay if you make a bad short. It's okay. So it's like the overthinking. I just want you to know, I'm a therapist. I'd like to think I've done some good things in my life, but I still totally struggle with overthinking. I got my own issues. You gotta believe me. I'm just saying. The other thing too is I try as much as possible. I never ask my clients to do anything that I've never done myself. You know what I mean? Or if it is like, I'll tell people it's like I'm kind of a hypocrite here because I'm not sure how good I am at this. But here would be my official professional recommendation: is try that or do this. So anyway, I'm just talking. What is therapy? I put what is therapy as, let's see here. Yeah, what is therapy? Here's the funny thing. So I try to give my business cards out to people. Isn't that a lovely business card? And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm a therapist. Have you ever seen a therapist? Just trying to make small talk. I'm always interested in hearing from people, like if they've had a therapist, did it help them? Just whatever their experience was. And often, I don't know about often, but maybe half the time, I get this quiz to look like they've never seen a therapist. They really don't know what it's about. It's always like, oh wow, let me explain it. Let me explain it. First of all, it's always about, do you have anyone to talk to? A therapist is like a professional listener, someone that you can count on to listen, to not judge you, to give you empathy and understanding, and that kind of help you talk through life issues or like problems, things that are burdening you. It's usually around that. Okay. So like half of it is just feeling better because you got to talk things out. And sometimes people have a myth about, oh, if I talk about it, I'll just feel worse. I'm better off ignoring this because if I talk about it, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. That's BS. It's nonsense. All right. There's a lot of details and complications with this. But in general, yeah, you're going to be better off talking about it. All right. I know for a fact. I see my therapist, Natalie, that's the main thing she does for me. She just listens to me. She just listens to me. And then two, I know she cares. So that's all. She doesn't try to fix me. She doesn't lecture me, that kind of thing. So talking about it and feeling better. And then secondly, it's about receiving recommendations, advice, counsel. I'm a licensed professional counselor, receiving counsel. This is what you should do. I'm going to give you some homework. I want you to work on this. I want you to read this book. I want you to watch this YouTube video. I want you to journal about this topic. It's about telling you what to do almost, or giving you a prescription. Go see a doctor for maybe getting on meds. All right. And then also on just a practical level, if someone's dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, a good therapist will be able to usher you towards lowering your anxiety, stopping your panic attacks. I've got a lot of experience with that. Or anger management. It's like, how do I work on my anger management? Or depression, treating depression, or, all sorts of helping somebody who's working through grief. All right, they lost somebody. I care deeply about complicated grief from suicide loss. That's kind of it's a special area of grief, and I just care deeply about it. Um, Other things. So, all right, and then also, like, okay, the other thing too is like it's called an adjustment disorder, but sometimes my clients are coming to me because, like on a lot of levels, they're doing okay with their life or whatever, but they've got a job problem. They're in a crisis where it's like, I got a boss problem, I got a bad job, or it's like I got a family problem, I've got an issue with my parenting and my kids, or it's like I got a relationship problem. Everything, things are generally good in my life, but I got this huge problem with the relationship. And it's like, what do I do about it? You know? And ideally, if a client works with me for at least some time, like at least a couple of months, over time, I really get to know them, their personality, their strengths, their weaknesses. I kind of know their life story. And then it's easy based on their personality and their background to just give them advice and be like, oh, you should do this, or, how to go through some crisis. I'm not explaining it well, but usually it's like relationship problems, work problems, some element of crisis related to family relationships, whatever it is. So that's all. That's all. Sometimes my clients are in their 20s, and it's not like I'm this genius or I'm not a know-it-all therapist, but like I am 54, and sometimes my clients in their 20s, they're so wrapped up in their life and their problems, and they don't see the tree for the forest. Is that the saying? Something about being in the forest and they can only see the trees around them. And I'm looking out and I'm older and I've been through what they've been through, and I can just speak to them and give them wisdom about like their lives and saying, hey, you don't have to worry about this. Trust me, I'm in my 50s. As much as possible, I want you to work on not worrying about this thing that you're worried about. And even this thing that bothers you, I can assure you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's like giving wisdom to clients, you know. So anyway, so that's kind of like what is therapy. Okay. And the last thing is, and I put anxiety in there. Hey, if you struggle with anxiety, I'm really sorry. Like, that sucks. Anxiety is not good. You know, do you have a therapist? Like, really, do you have a therapist? Because yeah. Yeah. Why don't live with your don't live, and it look, and it depends on what the anxiety is. Here's my kind of view on it. I can't generically tell people how to lower their anxiety because there's so many different ways that anxiety manifests itself. It can be rooted in, like, trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder. It could be like a trauma kind of thing. It could also be like a perfectionism kind of thing. I can't make mistakes at my job or I'm gonna get fired kind of thing, where anxiety runs high because you're afraid to make a mistake kind of a thing. There's also, like, the anxiety related to, like, low self-esteem, self-image issues, where it's like, "What are people thinking of me? I think negatively about myself. People must be thinking the same negative thoughts about me." It's like a social anxiety, you know? There's probably other types of anxieties, or it all depends on the person. It all depends on the person. That's why it's like, ideally, if you're working with someone, you gotta work with the therapist at least for a little while, at least like 4 to 6 weeks, and then usually within it depends how much my client shares, but usually within a 1 or 2 sessions, it's kinda obvious, like, what's driving their anxiety, and to the extent that talk therapy can help, let's do it. Of course, by the way, I'm not against medications. Like, if you wanna see a doctor and maybe get on a good medication, go for it. I've got clients where they swear on their meds that help them with, like, antidepressive, they've got depression or anxiety. But to the extent that you wanna kinda, like, work on, like, okay, what's, like, the psychological or emotional root causes that are driving my anxiety? Let's do it. Oh, here's another one. I mean, I don't wanna be tongue in cheek about it, but did you have a parent that was an alcoholic or a drug addict? Not always, but it's usually a common, like, background of someone who might struggle with anxious thoughts in their adult years, and they might not even have any contact with that parent, or maybe they passed or something, and it's like they picked up all this anxious thinking, as a kid, and they don't even realize it. And, sometimes, like, it's called ACOA, adult child of an alcoholic, alright? You can Google it, and there's tons of books about it, but there might be aspects of your personality where it's like, "Oh, that's just the way I am. I'm always just kind of high strung and nervous," and it's like, actually, okay, I mean, I'm not dismissing that, but it may not be your personality. It might have just been a coping skill that you clung to as a way of surviving, kind of like, the situation with having an alcoholic parent or a drug addict parent. So I'm just throwing that out there as an idea. Okay, I'm giving you almost like free. I'm giving you a free consultation, people. All right, which is fine. Just like Better Call Saul did when he gave out. He was like giving out, like, well, I forgot what he was giving out. But I remember that one episode. Anyway, so but anxiety, it's a good topic. All right, but it sucks to have. And seriously, here's the most important thing. Seriously, and I mean this from my heart. Like, don't give up. And I trust you have, like, a therapist or some kind of treatment plan, and you're not just sort of living with it and sort of suffering and just surviving. No, don't do that. I do understand financial costs and health insurance, and, like, I get it, but don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up, you know? And that's all. So There you go. I think I covered my 3 topics: anxiety, surviving versus thriving, and what is therapy. I'm actually pretty happy with myself. I went through, I've gone for 40 minutes. All right, that's it. You know what? I got the rest of the day off. I'm going to practice some self care. I'm going to go out there. I got some fun things to do. Right. I'm wearing my Better Call Saul. Whenever I wear this, I always get comments. There's always somebody who comes up to me and says, "That's a cool shirt." So, all right, really, all my love, and thank you for watching. Take care, my friends. Be well. All right. So long. Bye.